Once again, it's always just so weird to do this without Stony. I truly miss talking to him on this, but he is having a nice break of not having to record episodes, and he's loving it. Not having to talk so much because he talks quite a bit, but he doesn't like to be perceived on the podcast because then he thinks his voice is stupid when he's listening into it back.
And here's to the beginning.
I'll drink to that.
Why, Johnny Ringo.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can change it at any time.
I'm your huckleberry.
Outlaw loose and running came the whisper from each lip, and he's here to do some business with the big iron on his hip.
Incoming the Rambling Podcast, with your hosts, Conway Titty, and Stony Robbins.
Howdy, hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Ramblin' Podcast. I'm your host, Conway Titty. Not joined with us is the co-host, Stony Robbins. He has taken a nice break, so I hope you guys have been enjoying me just rambling and talking and being a nuisance into your ear holes. We are on episode 33. Like I said, the next handful of things is going to be basically Conway chats is what we've kind of titled it as. So I hope I'm not getting too boring for you guys or too droning. It's hard. It's hard to definitely do something completely by yourself and just ramble into it and feel like your voice can get annoying quickly or you're saying things wrong or etc. I have that problem when I listen back to my voice quite a bit. I'm like, oh, I say a lot of phrases a lot, or I'll be like, I'm trying to get better at speaking and having clear thoughts. It's just a lot harder when you don't have a script, when things aren't pre-planned most of the time, and you're kind of telling stories with it or talking and telling, my own opinions and things like that. I find it's difficult. It's difficult to pause and then wait and then talk and talk and talk and talk. Trying to make coherent sentences is difficult sometimes, Today's topic is the most requested topic from a lot of y'all. And this is quite exciting. It also correlates with me doing a solo episode, so I really like that. But yeah, I love that you guys wanted to know the ins and outs of it, and I'm excited to describe and go into details of this. So today's topic is Conway becoming Conway. So how I became Conway Titty, how it developed, kind of not really tips and tricks, but just my story of how I've got to where I am today. And it is quite lengthy of how it works. And I kind of wanted to give you guys some backstory of not even just like Conway Titty as a whole, but I wanted to give you a backstory of my 8 years in this industry and doing the damn thing. I'm going on 8 years. It'll be 8 years on October 1st. Of like doing it extensively and making money from it and everything like that. And I wanted to give that backstory so you kind of know where I came from in that sense of what I was doing, how it switched. And we're basically talking myself at 18 and on. I'm not talking about my childhood or anything like that. We have plenty of other episodes we're going to talk about high school and different stories and experiences. So I'm trying to also condense it down to where it's, like I said, not just going in circles and it is thought out. So I did write not necessarily a script, but I gave myself plenty of bullet points and kind of everything so I don't like forget what I want to talk about or little things. And I'll go off into little stories and all that jazz. But yeah, today is becoming Conway. I want to be talking about my career in sex work, the camming, the OnlyFans, aliases, content growing, traveling, saying yes to meeting people, basically putting yourself out there with the anxiety, the nerves, and enjoying it all, but also the mental health pros and cons of it as well. And I wanted to let you guys know how she became Conway Titty, how I am here today, how it's developed into this online persona and character, and like people only know me as Conway, and the balancing of just everything personal and, specifically business. And that's nice. So might as well go ahead and get started. So turn your thinking, your thinking brains, turn your thinking caps off. This will be just some smooth brain station, nothing to worry about, but sit back and relax and I guess enjoy my story of it. Right out of high school and beginning of college is where I wanted to start. Once I graduated high school, I always was fascinated with sex workers in the industry and, porn stars, strippers, dancers, things like that, right? Just things like that. Always fascinated with it. And I thought I always had not an inkling that I would do it, but I knew it was powerful to make money off of your body, whether it's physical, in a sense, or it's online or things like that. Like, I always just thought that was so fascinating that people can make so much money from the body parts that we all have. We all are meat bags. And the fact that I could make money off of my meat bag, it wasn't ever shameful for me. I just always thought it was really fascinating and really cool. Um, and looked up to a lot of the stars, just being like, wow, this is really like just intense the way they can have their own business in a way and they're monetizing off themselves and it's in their control and it's wonderful. It's so wonderful. I always thought that was really cool. So whenever I got into college, I started selling some of my content, just like basic nudes, nothing crazy. And half of the time it was to basically pay for, like, gas money. This was not, like, a full-time gig yet. I was just doing enough to, um, pay some things that I needed to do because I was a broke college kid. I didn't have a job for the first, semester that I went to college, so I was trying to get adjusted into that life and trying to figure it out. I had scholarships that helped pay for like I really didn't have to pay for much because I was living, in the dorms. My meal plan was at the school and the only money I needed was 25 bucks. That was to fill up my tank and maybe buy, an $8 bottle of Burnett's that would last me a while so I could be drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like it was in that aspect of you're just trying to get adjusted, especially going from a really small town to this really big area with tons of people and not knowing at the time I was also autistic. So it was extremely overwhelming. There was a lot of things that just was too much for me. Like I said, I didn't know at the time and now I do, so it makes sense of, why my college experience went certain ways. Anyways, so I was basically just selling my stuff, whether it was to other college kids or other, like sugar daddy age type guys that want to help out college kids, things like that. Most of the time, I was only selling a little bit just to make the gas money or, drink money. That was about it. Or if I wanted to eat off campus and not, have to go through my meal plan. But that's basically what I did for the first semester ish. And then I eventually got a job that next semester, like that summer after I finished the first thing, I got a job at working at a truck stop. And at this time, I still wasn't doing any of that full time. The main things were just focusing on uh, like gas money. I also started dating my very horrible and worst ex of all at this time too. So we just got into a relationship, not realizing how bad that would eventually turn into. So I'm working at this truck stop. I'm doing like nude content a little bit on the sides if I wanted certain, like I said, a meal or gas money, nothing crazy. And then as college continued on, um, I eventually got into camming, which was not necessarily new to me because I knew all about it. I knew how it worked. I've been on campsites before in a sense of like being the viewer. So I kind of know how to do it. And I think the best way, if you're trying to learn something, is watch other people do it. So when I was learning how to do all the camming, I would watch people that would make the most money, or I would just watch random people, and everyone would do something different and everything would do something new. And you'd kind of learn how to talk and do goals and kind of get the audience there. And since I was brand new um, at this time, I obviously was under an alias, and creating an alias is a whole just difficult thing in itself for some people. Most of the time, what people tell you to do is you pick a generic name, like Becky, Sarah, Lauren, uh, Trisha, Ashley, things like that, like kind of a basic, very common name. And then you pick a color or like a city or, a state, things like that. So for example, you could be like Ashley Blue, and that would be your alias name is Ashley Blue. So like I said, common name. So like Lauren Pink, XXX or something like that. And that's kind of how, when you first start out, that's how you create your alias. Unless you have a whole theme of what you want to do and a brand of what you're doing. But if you're like going into this fresh and you have no fucking clue, that's the easiest advice, is what I was told. And what, you see a lot of people do is two basic first names together, two very common names and a color, a common name and the state or a city. Um, Things like that, or like princess and a common name. So like you kind of can make it whatever you want. So I chose a common name and a color, and that's what I did. That's what I did for my very first alias to actually start into live camming. So also at this time with live camming, um I was with my ex at the time, the horrible one, the one that I fucking hate. Um and he was okay with me doing it to an extent. It was like this weird backhanded atmosphere all of the time. He would want me to do it because he would be benefiting from the money that I was making, because it would be helping pay bills and everything for our house, for the place we're renting, and we're in college, so it's paying for like my books and supplies and things like that. But he also would hate when I would be doing it. So it was like this weird, okay for the money, but not okay that you're doing it, and would find it, like, gross. I don't know, it was very confusing, and I didn't realize at the time how toxic this environment was going to be and how much worse it was going to get. So, also, while I'm doing this camming and I've created this alias, I also have to figure out my scheduling of when I can put. I wasn't doing full-blown content like I am now. I was mainly just doing, like, Snapchat story posts, and that was about it. That was, like, really popular at the time. And then people would you'd make an anonymous Snapchat that's with your alias, and then you'd put it on, like, Reddit, or there'd be other girls that would do shout outs for shout outs on Snapchat. So then you would, like, you wouldn't, most of the time you wouldn't post things to your story. You would mainly just post that, hey, you would be camping over here, um, and kind of like selling content on that too. So that was like a way that was really popular before OnlyFans came around, because there really wasn't like subscription sites besides like mini vids, but that would be like full on showing everything. And yeah, there was just a lot of things that weren't available at that time. So having to schedule your content, while also at this time I worked two other jobs and went to classes. So I'd be working from like, I would have to get up at like 5 a.m. and then I'd have to be at work at 6 a.m. I would get off work sometime at like, maybe 1 p.m., maybe 3 p.m. It just depended on the day. And then I would be going to my classes. And then once I got done with my classes, I would go to my other job from like 6 p.m. to like 11 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I would like have that for, 3 to 5 hours at night. I'd be working all day, and then classes in the middle. So first job, 6 to 3, let's say. Then I'd have classes from like 3 to 5. It'd be like two classes that day or something like that, right? And then job from like 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. So that's what I would do. Then as soon as I get done from those jobs, I would come home and I would change and get ready. I would shower, change, get ready, and then I would do camming from like 12 to 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., depending if it was like a weekend. If it was a weekend, I'd be camming longer because I wouldn't have classes. Sometimes I wouldn't have like the first job I had to go to. So I'd be able to cam from like 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., right? And then I would just do this all the time. I would get the times that I wasn't at class, I was doing homework in between the two, like before both the second job started. So I was like, it was very overwhelming, and a lot just to pay the bills, um, to survive, to really like be able to eat and to have food in the house. Um, and that kind of an environment. It was like it was a lot. Like I said, 2 jobs plus this 3rd job that's a side gig for my camming, and then also going to classes on top of it. Like that's a lot, and trying to find the time to have a social life, kind of, trying to find the time to, like, go do things with family, trying to find the time to be able to do your homework and get things done. And there'd be times where I wouldn't cam because I'd have to do, a paper would be due by midnight and I just got off work at 11. So I'm having to rush and do a paper and finish that or put an assignment or things like that. Like it's college is flexible, but I think it also isn't when it comes to due dates and people that have to be real adults and work constantly, and then professors and things expect to have, this thing done by this time when you have no time to do your homework because you're at work and your job doesn't allow you to. Like I remember when I worked at the gas station, I would work night shift. So I'd be working from like 4 p.m. till like midnight because I wasn't allowed, like girls weren't allowed to work overnights because that's just for safety reasons at a truck stop. And I remember bringing in flashcards for my history, uh, like one of my history tests or a history final, things like that. And I would get yelled at for like, it'd be so fucking slow. It's winter. There's like no one here. It's not busy. I would only be doing it like when there was no one in the store, really. And I would get in trouble for doing my flashcards at work when there's, I guess I'm supposed to just stand there and zone out into anything. So like I got in trouble for doing things at work and I only had like 1 hour at this other job during like lunch. But I was supposed to be doing job related stuff, but sometimes if I already finished that, then my 1 hour, lunch break thing, I was able to write a paper or do flashcards or get things done for college. And then at my other job, I was cleaning all the time, so I didn't have time to even bring schoolwork. So it was just this weird, awful balance of college, 3 jobs, and like living, right? So also with campsites too, you can block certain regions or states from viewing the camp. So since I wanted to stay anonymous and I didn't really want everyone and their mom finding out, or I didn't want people who I knew watching my stuff, um, I blocked like the state that I live in and then kind of the corresponding states. So I was getting people that weren't anywhere close. And that's kind of how I operated for a while, was just doing these camming shows, and even if it was, like, a couple $100, like, that's a couple $100 I was getting to be able to pay bills, or that couple $100 was going to, groceries, and even just that helped a lot, during this time too. Like, it would be able like, if I wanted to cam and I knew I had a book that I had to buy soon for class, I could cam for, like, let's say a week, and I would make enough money from the camming that I'd be able to pay for my fucking college textbook, that costs like 400 fucking dollars for some reason. But it was like this chaotic back and forth of, okay, I have to schedule this time to be able to work around this because I need to be able to make this money to be able to pay for some of the college stuff that I needed, to be able to pay for these bills that I needed, to be able to pay for things like that. Like it just was a very chaotic time. And having to balance all of that was a lot mentally, and also when you're not in the best of relationships, it seems like everything's on fire all of the time. It was just horrendous. So I also have this one kind of bad thing that also happened during this time is we lived with one other person, and this other person didn't know that I was camming because I'd be doing it nights. That person would be asleep. Um, wouldn't have to worry about it. You know, like I was doing it in the privacy of my own bedroom. I wasn't being loud. I was like being courteous, and everything was fine. And I always made sure the ex at the time, I would always say like, "Hey, just make sure she doesn't like I know we have locks on the doors, but these locks it's an older house, sometimes don't work at all." I was like, "Can you please just make sure she if she needs me, like you just tell her she's busy, like I'm busy. Can you just make sure she doesn't come in the room while I'm doing things?" So I remember it was around one of the holidays. So I was doing like more camming than usual because I didn't have college to worry about at the time because we were on break. So I was doing like my holiday cam shows, and I remember I was in the middle of doing something on my show, and he was too busy doing his own shit, playing video games, not even fucking not doing what I, at least asked him to do is like, "Hey, please don't go in there." She walks through my door and I'm, puss out, using a toy, doing things for my cam show that I'm comfortable doing within my own fucking four walls in my bedroom. Um, and she walked in and was just like, immediately walked in, was like, "Oh my God," and then like shut the door. And then she went on this long rant to my ex in the living room while I'm like trying to finish up the cam show so I can whatever. And they were just talking about how gross it was and that's disgusting and like that's so fucking like just it's so nasty and just went on this long rant of how horrible of a person I am because I'm doing it and how gross it was. And it kind of hurt because it was like a friend, like one of my good friends that lived with us. I didn't tell for a reason because I was trying to keep everything separate because you try to keep your personal life and your things separate. And obviously the reaction that they had was exactly what I thought was going to happen. So that was like very uncomfortable. So now it was just weird too to be walked in on while you're in the middle of this. You have people live sending you like you know, tips and everything through the camming site. And you're just like, Cool. Now I have to pretend that that did just happen and continue my thing." So then I, finish my show quickly. And then my ex at the time, as soon as I got done, I was like, "Why did you not, stop them from coming in? Like, what the fuck? Like, that was your one job to do." And he's like, they just did that. And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, you could have just been like, hey, they're, she's busy. Don't bother her. She's busy right now." And he just like rolled his eyes and it became this big fight and it just was really stupid. So, some months later, I'm still doing my thing. I'm saving up money for my next college semester to pay for my books. Still paying bills, everything like that. Um, just, surviving like all of us try to do. And we also had an agreement, me and my ex, because what we wanted to do at the time, like he wanted to do something like I think he wanted to be like a high school teacher or coach or some shit like that, right? And I changed my major multiple times, but because I wanted us to live, be together forever, I changed my major for him. So I like changed into elementary education. And mind you, I had a complete alias. Nothing was connected back to my legal name. Like you wouldn't be able to find me at all. So it was just to do it through college to make that extra money. And then when things started getting serious, I would just delete everything and it wouldn't be a big deal, which a lot of people do. Fun fact, there's a lot of people that do that in types of things like that where, I mean, anyone should be able to do fucking anything to make their money. Nothing correlates together. You being a teacher and you also doing sex work on the side has nothing to fucking do with your daytime job or anything like that. So it really doesn't fucking matter. Especially if it's like an alias and no one fucking knows and everything like that. So my major was education because I put it with his so that way we could be together and we could work at the same school and blah 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 blah. Bullshit like that. Just fucking stupid. So my plan was to do this for a little bit, make some money that I could pay my way through college, and then when things started getting more serious, I would just delete everything and it wouldn't be a big fucking deal because that's usually how it works. And I've There's been plenty of people that I have known in my life that have done that, and congratulations to them. No one has ever known that they've done that unless you've been in it, unless you're part of this community. Most of the time, you don't know, right? So, um, some months later, as the next kind of semester is starting, and I'm paying for things and getting my books done, and just things like that, little things for classes. Um, at this time too, I am just struggling mentally. I am in a very abusive relationship mentally. Sometimes it would be physical, but it was just a very unhealthy home environment. Like just very unhealthy, arguing all of the time. Um, just going through the fucking ringer of this dude flipping back and forth, and just being not a supporter of pretty much anything I'm doing in my life. I was just, his basically his fucking servant, waiting on him hand and foot, trying to get, things situated. And I didn't have my voice at the time, and I didn't know it was toxic at the time. This guy's cheating on me multiple times, and I know some of it, but not all of it. And I'm just, just in a stuck situation, right? So some months later, it's school starts back up, and then I'm still camming. I'm getting my new schedule situated, doing my thing. We also had an agreement that if anyone found out from either of our hometowns, or anyone we knew found out, I would have to delete everything and completely stop, because we didn't want it to go any further to where it prevented us from getting any jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So everyone from my hometown found out. Someone spread it around, and then I got tons of text messages from everybody. Some were sending me my own pictures, and people found out my alias. Um, and this one fucking bitch was the one who sent it around to everybody pretty much. And that's how people found out, and then that's how people knew started finding out, and we didn't want it to affect certain things, so I went on my agreement, and I decided I had to delete everything. Which one was stupid in the first place. Like, you shouldn't let somebody else dictate your career or your job or whatever you're doing. Like, you shouldn't let somebody else dictate it. You should be comfortable with whatever you wanna do, because once everyone found out, it was very nerve-wracking, because it's not like an invasion of privacy, but everyone's gonna find out. Like, I already knew people were gonna find out, but the way everyone found out was more obnoxious than, people just finding out on their own terms. It was like I was gossip, and people were sending me around, like how it was in high school. People were like that in high school with me too. So it was just like, it was very uncomfortable, because it'd be fine if people found out and they were finding out on their own terms, not because somebody was being malicious and sending it to everyone and their fucking mom on purpose, because they're just a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Like, that's also a weird thing. Now I don't give two fucks. I really don't give a shit. But at that time, that was the first time it was happening. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know the extent where it'd just be waves of everyone texting me, people being, like writing really mean messages, and just tons of things like that. Um, so I stuck to my agreement, and I was like, okay, I got to delete everything now, because everyone found out, especially his whatever found out. So I was like, okay, I got to delete everything, because we don't want it to, like I said, affect our careers or anything like that. So I wiped everything. Everything was deleted. It was no big fucking deal. Like, literally super easy. And then it was like people just knew, but they didn't have any proof at all. And that was really cool. So I was like, cool. So I stopped doing that, and I just worked at my jobs, um, and didn't do any of that. Then, like a month after that shit happened, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this again, because the money was decent, and it helped pay with bills, and it really would help with my textbooks, and it really helps me with college. So I have to do it. I have to do it, because I'm not making enough for my two jobs. I need to do this other side gig again. So this time, I created a completely new alias. Nothing was connected to anything at all. I did a completely new alias, and I went anonymous. So what I mean by anonymous is, you don't show your face. You don't you just keep it very, like I said, maybe chest down. Like you don't even some people only do like stomach down, some only do just chest only. You can be anonymous multiple times. And no face content makes a lot of money. There's a lot of people that do no face content that are my coworkers in this industry, and they make tons of money because they're not showing the face. They have the privacy of no one knowing who they fucking are. And I think that's really cool. So that's also a way to get into the industry is if you don't feel comfortable doing your stuff, like showing your face or anything. Some people wear masks, some just don't show their face at all, some are really good with their angles. But yeah, that is side note, that is also a way to join the industry if you want. You can be completely anonymous and make a good amount of money because no face content is very popular, especially right now. So I did anonymous for a little bit, a little while, and then I said fuck it. And then just because I felt comfortable enough with this newer alias, because none of the same people were gonna be able to find me that way. Um, so I basically said fuck it and went back to basically wearing my wigs. I wore a wig most of the time with my content too, with my persons. I wore a wig and I did some other stuff. So it was kind of like very different from what I was already doing. So it did have that slight difference where you probably couldn't tell it was me, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I did. So I'm building this newer account. And at this time, this account starts making some more money that I was able to quit my day job, the one that like one of my jobs, the one that was taking up most of my time and was making me the least amount of money, I was able to quit. So I only had to work my night job plus my camming and content job. So that was really, really, really nice that I was able to eventually kind of get away from that to be able to just live straight on content. All right. So at this time in my life, like I said earlier, the home life was pretty bad. The relationship was getting way worse. There was so many things that were going wrong. There was so much stress. I was so depressed at this time, but I still had to go to my jobs and everything. So like anything outside jobs, it was just miserable, absolutely miserable. So with all that happening, I started doing bad in my classes. And so much was going on the abusive side, mental and physical. Um, and just the environment was so unhealthy that I was just doing really bad in classes. I couldn't focus. I kept forgetting, like my brain was just so brain fogged. I kept forgetting to turn in assignments. I like just completely gave up all at once. And then I eventually it was so bad that I missed all of my finals. Every single one of my finals I missed. I did not have a care in the world. I did not give a shit. I was so mentally distraught and physically broken down, um, just miserable that I didn't care. So I just basically failed all my finals. And I didn't have the energy to write or go see professors and type it all out and blah, 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 blah. I just didn't care. So I, at this time, decided to take a semester off because everything that was going on was way too much. I was just stressed out beyond belief. Like, it was one of the worst times of my life of just mentally not having anyone in my fucking corner, feeling like this relationship, I don't know how to get out of it, feeling like everything's crumbling on me because I, just failed some classes and like not thinking like, oh, I'm a failure in life. This is awful. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, you know? So I took a semester off and then I eventually broke off the engagement slash relationship that I was in after him treating me badly and then me finding out that he was cheating on me with 15 different women that I know of. That was horrendous. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Bye. And I use the word engagement loosely because he did buy a ring for me. And then how he basically proposed was that he was in an argument one time and he was screaming and yelling at me. And then he was like, well, I was going to propose to you. And then he grabbed the ring and threw it at me and was like, just take it. Just take it. It's yours now. Blah, blah, blah. And that's how he proposed to me at that time. Like, don't I tell you this guy was a fucking lunatic and a complete asshole, and he's just one of the worst people I've ever been with in my entire life. Like, he is the worst ex. That was what I was dealing with, and I still went with it because I, like, just didn't realize at the time how fucking toxic it was. So, I eventually break off this relationship, and I was like, "I cannot do this anymore." Like, I'm starting to, like, get a voice on me. By doing the sex work that I was doing, I was seeing the confidence that I was growing from even just people not even just complimenting me, but just, like, treating me good by, like, gifting me things or helping me pay for things, and they were just being so so supportive and so sweet. I was gaining the confidence and the thick skin as, you also have the people that hate you and they'll say a bunch of mean shit and things like that. But most of the time it was, like, nice, and I was gaining the confidence and the thick skin, so I finally, like, had the courage, um, to break off this really bad relationship. So I moved out and I got my own apartment with my 2 dogs that I could not afford. I was like, "There is no way I'm gonna be able to pay this each month, plus the bills that I have to do." It was just a lot, and also being on your own, you only have that one income, like, you don't know what you're doing, like, it was just chaotic, and at this time too, when I moved in, I had nothing except for 2 couches that the ex so graciously gave to me out of everything that we had together. I had 2 couches in this entire, one-bedroom apartment. So, I will never forget this because it's one of such a beautiful moment in my life. I didn't really have anyone to help me out, it was just me by myself. The fans/subscribers, whatever you wanna call them at the time, they furnished my entire apartment. They bought almost everything off my Amazon wish list. They knew I was going through a breakup. They knew I didn't have like, I didn't have anything to support me. So these people, out of the kindness of them, not only were, like, paying for my content, but they were buying extra things off my Amazon wish list, and they helped me get a mattress. They helped me get a bed frame. They helped me buy sheets and pillows. They basically helped put pots and pans in my kitchen, and bought towels and things for my bathroom. Like, I made an Amazon wish list of things I needed for my new apartment and posted it, and these people, without hesitation, bought everything, and I'd have multiple people, message me like, "Hey, you got some things coming to your new apartment. I bought you, all your bathroom stuff." And even if it was, like, small things, like, they just truly helped me out, and that's when I knew, like, this lifestyle was so generous when you think about it of, like, people want to see you succeed, but they also want to benefit from your content as well. So it seems like the best of both worlds. And instead of like tipping, they would just, you know, buy, you know, towels off of my Amazon wish list so I could dry off in the shower in return for just taking a shower video. Like it was a very mutual thing. And then some people didn't even want anything in return. They just wanted to help me out because they realized I was in such a bad situation and I'm now by myself and I have this apartment, but I don't have anything. It was just so kind. It was very kind. It was amazing. And still to this day, it's like, it's so wonderful when I see other people go through situations like that in the sex worker industry because it happens quite often if you're not with the right person, things can go sideways very quickly, and it's so lovely to see the supporters help, like I said, just furnish your home, your apartment, things like that. It's so wonderful that there's a way for people to help out that way. Especially when they're strangers and they're like, halfway across the world or they're in a different fucking country. You know what I mean? Like it's so nice. These are people like you don't know in your personal life that are so nice and willing to help out. So I was figuring out how to do all of this in life and in this brand new apartment by myself. It's summer by this point. I'm taking this next, fall semester off. I don't really know what I want to do. I don't like I'm not really working at the same like I had to work at the same job as him for a month after we broke up, but then I was eventually able to like get something else. But at that time it was just difficult. It was so difficult to still work with somebody you fucking hated. Um, so all of my plans were different, basically gone. So like what I wanted to major in college, I had no fucking clue because I didn't want to be an educator anymore. I was only doing that because that was his path and we could do it together. And like I just was so just exhausted and lost and didn't know what to do anymore. So I was really kind of like pushing more into my camming and selling content and that was like working and at this time too I was struggling with alcohol and drugs. I was mainly, into snowing, if you know what I mean. Hitting them slopes. And I was just out all the time at bars because my friends worked at bars. My friends at the time worked at bars. So I was getting free drinks. I wasn't paid for shit. And I was just like, didn't realize I was in this snowball effect of just partying all the time because I was feeling so empty and just awful and things like that. Like I was just looking for something to numb me going through this new adventure bullshit, right? I was trying to get through these days and figure out how to survive by myself and what I wanted to do next. And it's a lot of trial and error. And you shouldn't judge yourself for it because everyone goes through shit and everyone copes and does things differently, right? So I eventually, once I kind of got settled, I eventually got a job working at Spirit Halloween. I've talked about my Spirit Halloween story and all the jobs on my Show Me Your Resume episode. I think it's one of our uh, very early on episodes. If you want to go back and listen to it, me and Sony talk about all the jobs that we've had. And that's what I did. I worked at Spirit Halloween. I was an assistant manager, so I got paid a little bit more, but not really. The pay was not great. It was not enough to uh like on top of my sex work at the time and working there, it was not enough, but then eventually my sex work got a little bit better and the camming got a little better. I was able to make just enough to pay all of my bills and have some groceries just for myself. So I was eventually like barely breaking even of like, oh, I have $10 left over after paying everything and buying some groceries. I have $10 left over. And most of the time, some of my, tips would be used for gas money, or people would specifically, while I was working, they would specifically send me money, for gas. So that way I could fill my car up that week. That was like, the generosity of what was, going on. Um, so I'm working at Spirit Halloween. I'm starting to think about going back to school because I wanted to. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to do something completely different than the plans that I had with my horrible, horrendous, shitty ex that I just got out of. It's been a couple months this time, so I'm making my way. I'm starting to get the feeling of like myself back and figure out like what I wanted to do. And when I first got to college, I wanted to do something in the medical field. I wanted to be a fucking emergency room surgeon when I first got to college, and all throughout high school, that's what I wanted to be. And then I realized I wouldn't have enough time for the things that I wanted to do in life, and I felt like work shouldn't oversee what your life wanted to be. And then I switched it to the education thing because of the guy, and then I was lost. So I wanted to maybe get something back into the surgery aspect because I really found that fascinating and awesome. Um, and I started to realize that, like, oh, I could be a surgical tech without having to do the extensive training that surgeons go through and all of the college and going through the debt and everything like that. So I was like, okay. So I wanted somewhere different. So I started looking at surgical tech schools in Texas. And I knew I wanted to get out of Oklahoma. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to just start over. So there were two schools that I got accepted to for surgical tech. One was in Dallas and one was in Houston. And I've been to Dallas a bunch. I know the Dallas area, and I kind of still wanted something completely new. I wanted something different. I wanted to just, be like, no, 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 like we're starting fresh. So I chose Houston. I chose the surgical tech school in Houston. And at this time too, I have never been to Houston. I don't know anything about Houston. I've never visited. I don't know anyone down there. Like the closest people I know are in Dallas. Other than that, I still don't know anyone in South Texas. I know nothing about anything. Um, and I basically was just like, here we go, I guess. So I got accepted, and once I finished everything, I did all my, like, enrolling because since I was in Oklahoma at the time and I was so far away from Houston, they let me do everything over the phone and email and do some faxing, of paperwork and things like that. They had no problem with me doing that. Then they informed me, they're like, "Just so you know, um, since, like, you're starting this and, I wanna get you in as soon as possible, our classes start in less than 2 weeks. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait, until the start of the next year. And I was like, "Holy fuck, less than 2 weeks." And I agreed on the phone. I said, "Okay, no problem. I'll make it happen. I'll be down there on the first day. Um, don't worry about it." So, on my days off from my Spirit Halloween job, um, I planned a weekend. I literally requested off a weekend to drive down to Houston to meet with the guy I was going to room with. So, like, as soon as I got the phone and I was like, classes start in less than 2 weeks, I started looking everywhere for apartments and things like that, places to live in Houston. And if you know, Houston is quite expensive. It's one of the biggest cities in the entire fucking US. So that was just chaotic. That was really crazy. So I started looking at like roommate websites, and people have like houses that they have. Some people down there, like when you live closer to the colleges, some people have their own house and then they rent out a room to college students, so it's not so expensive. Um, so I just eventually found this place with this guy, and there was one other roommate that was going to live there too, that was also a college student. Um, so I was like, I trusted that it was going to work out, and it was no big deal. So I planned a weekend on my one of my requested days off, and I already let my work know. I was like, "Hey, I have less than 2 weeks left. Like, I got accepted to school in Houston. I'm making it. Like, I gotta go. Bye. Sorry." Um, so I told them, I was like, "I have to go down there and finish signing some school paperwork, but I also have to meet my new roommate. I have to get this all done this week. Otherwise, I cannot go to the school." So I drove down to Houston for the very first time. It was a very, very, very long drive. I didn't have to pay for a hotel or anything. The guy was like, "Hey, you can just stay at this house that you're already looking for that we could be roommates for. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, no big deal. We don't have to be roommates. I just want you to get a vibe for it. And that way you don't have to pay for a hotel." He was extremely nice. Um, and he wasn't like he was seemed like a normal fucking human being. Um, so I stayed at the house that I was, the potential house I was looking for, and then I went to my school, which was like an hour away because it was kind of like South Houston. The school was in like North, like in downtownish Houston, North Houston. So that was like an hour with traffic and everything. You know how it is. Busy, busy fucking cities, giant city. So I got all my schoolwork done. He took me out to a couple bars that were by the house, which were really fun. And he kind of just like showed me around. I was like, "Hey, this is what's around here," whatever. Like very nice. Wasn't weird at all. And then I was like, "Okay, I gotta go back home." So I went back home, worked for my last week of my job, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm moving in with you, so I'll bring my stuff down and I'll see you, you know, eventually." And that like end of the week or whatever. So I moved out of my apartment. I got someone to finish out my lease at my apartment, which took a while too. Um, because I already had the month paid. So I at least had like a month to find somebody else to finish my lease. And usually when you're a college town and it was the timing, most people are wanting to get in and get out. So I only had to pay that 1 month for me not being there, which I already planned for, you know what I mean? I didn't know everything was gonna happen so quickly, and he was so kind too. He was like, "Don't worry about paying me this first month's rent. I know you're just adjusting. I know you're having to pay for your other apartment." He's like, "Don't worry," because remember, he owns the house, so it doesn't really matter. It's just helping him pay his mortgage. And he's like, "Don't worry about it. I understand how busy it is. I understand how hectic it is." So he was so kind. I didn't have to pay that first month's rent. He just let me move in with my 2 dogs. No big deal. So I moved out of my apartment down to Houston with these random roommates. I got settled. Once I got settled there, I think I got like it was like my second week there. Once I unpacked everything and I got more familiar with the area, I was still doing my content on the side and selling my content and everything like that. I immediately looked for a job, and I got a job at a server at a well-known wing place. I also talk about that on our Show Me Your Resume episode, and I talk all about how that. So that was it. I was like, "Cool, now I have a job." I'm paying half of the amount that I was paying because I'm not living in an apartment by myself. Like, I only gotta pay for, like, my groceries and a portion of rent. He's not charging me for anything else. Like, it just I was like, "Okay, sweet. Now I can, like, save some money and kinda figure out what I wanna do here. I can finish my school, no problem, etcetera, etcetera." So, my classes for surgical tech eventually started, and I would attend those from 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then I would drive home, the hour home, and I would change into my work attire, and I'd go from work from like 5 p.m. to midnight or 5 p.m. to 11, depending on when I would like get let off from the serving shift, things like that. You know how it works. And that was kind of the routine. And then sometimes I would get home from my shift and catch up on some homework or other things. And I wasn't getting much sleep, but I was, I was enjoying being somewhere new and it wasn't affecting me. I was just like, this is such a breath of fresh air. It's something so different. God, those drives through Houston traffic were insane though, because I would have to leave the house at 4 a.m. for my classes at 5. And it was hilarious too because like we would get a group because we'd all be in a giant group text with our professor through like the schools thing, and our professor would be like, "Oh, stuck in traffic. See you guys at this time." Um, and sometimes we'd be in traffic for like an hour and a half. So classes would get pushed back just because everyone was stuck in traffic. It was that was very flexible on that sense. And it was really nice to like not have to be so stressed out that I'm sitting in this traffic, even though I left early. And sometimes the traffic would take like 2 hours. You're sitting in traffic. And just knowing that like your professor is stuck in traffic too. So don't worry about it. Get here when you get here and then you're not tardy, you're not like it was just very it was very comfortable. It was very comfortable. So I would get home, and luckily my classes were only 3 days a week, so I was able to work longer shifts, or the night shifts on at my serving job, and then I was able to do my homework during the day, and I was able to catch up. I was like trying my best, and that's all that matters is like you were, trying your best. So since I was in Houston, I knew that I was going to have a completely fresh start. I knew absolutely nobody. I made friends as I went. I would go to random bars by myself and I'd make friends. I'd make friends with classmates, but I never really hung out with them outside of anything else. But you're just like, I'm making friends with my roommates' friends. Like, it just was this nice fresh start of just like saying yes to things and putting myself out there and really like falling into my own person after being through something that was so traumatic for me and miserable, and just seeing that like, oh, everything's kind of working out a little bit. I'm at least trying to figure it out, right? So I started being on Twitter more as myself, on my Instagram more as myself. I was more like documenting some adventures that I was going to do. Like if I'd go down to Galveston and I was at the beach for the very first time there, just kind of documenting that I was like not really doing better, but it became to where I didn't care about everybody. I was more just posting what I liked and saying what I liked, and it just didn't matter. So, like I said, I started being on Twitter more. I started promoting my sex work more on Twitter. Instagram, not really because you could get flagged for a lot of things and your account could get deleted. So that's why on Instagram too, still nowadays, it's mainly like outfits and sets and things like that. Like I don't really promote that side on my Instagram because of how strict Instagram is. But yeah, Twitter, I was getting to like post different things and had no issues with it. And on Instagram, I was leaning more into like outfits and just looks and things that were different than what most people were posting, and I really did enjoy that. And then I got into the swing of those things of posting more outfits and tagging places that I got these outfits from, and I eventually started to become known more online, which was also really cool. Like, it just, like, gradually started to increase. I think I went from, like, probably less than 1,000 followers to almost 10K, very quickly. And that was really crazy because at this time too, you don't really think much about numbers, and then all of a sudden you have numbers and you're like, "Whoa, that's a lot of people." It was just yeah, it was just weird to start kind of becoming known online. Uh so the new year started, and I knew it was time to make my new alias official. I didn't want to go by my legal name anymore because that was, I was trying to separate it a little bit. Honestly, I didn't really give a fuck, but it was more of like I wanted to create a persona. I wanted to create a character like I had for my camming stuff. But I wanted it to be, you know, known. Like, I wanted people to recognize it immediately, and it wasn't, like I said, just some common name and a color because then that gets mixed in with everybody else, and you can't really separate yourself to be rememberable, you know? So I chose Conway Titty. I already was really into country western stuff basically my entire life. Like, I've known of Conway Twitty my whole entire life, through family and where I grew up and just how things were. So, like, I thought it was so funny and I thought the pun was funny. I thought the other people would think it's funny. But I knew it would be different than what most people would be choosing their aliases, whether it's like, a color and a common name or a city and common name. You know what I mean? I thought it stood out a little bit. And I didn't really see I didn't see any Conway titties of, like, this is the person's stage name. Um, Still to this day, there's, like, accounts that people just use the username as, but that's not their, like, actual name, business, nothing like this. Um so, still to this day, I use this word lightly, but I wanna say I'm the only Conway Titty that is an actual business, that's an actual stage name, that's actually known for it, and I think it's great. I think it's really hilarious and fun, and like I said, I've always been a huge Conway Twitty fan. He was the playboy of country music. He was wild, he was eccentric, he was hilarious, um and he just had fashion and charisma, and I just always really enjoyed him and his music and just his attitude towards everything really, just lighthearted and fun, and I like to think to this day, if I got to meet him, in another life, I think he would really, really, really love me, just obviously from my looks, but also just the charisma with it too, like, I think he would understand it as well. And also a fun fact that I love telling people is why I think it just fits so well. And I think to this day, it's still one of my favorite moments when I discovered it of like how world just how like not really small the world is, but how put together things can be and how it seems like things fall into place. So, actually, on the back of Conway Twitty's guitar is a red-headed cowgirl with big boobs, that is on the back of his guitar. And I think that's one of the coolest things because I feel like I wanted to and do embody the humor, the lifestyle, the fashion, and kind of the persona, but with my own twist. And it's really nice to when people discover me. It's fun when people like laugh at my name because one, they know who Conway Twitty is, which is awesome. It keeps the name alive, it keeps the music alive. But also when people don't know and then they discover it and then they're, become a fan of Conway Twitty. I think that's so cool. I think that it allows the humor aspect to be put in, and it allows me to still stay within the country and western community, um, being my own persona and being my stage name, and being known for it, but it also is a connection with one of the best, you know, one of the country music's legends who were just known for women and things. But yeah, the guitar thing, like when I found that out, I just was like, this is the coolest thing ever because I already was Conway Titty for a while, and then I found out that the back of his guitar was a redheaded cowgirl, and I was like, this is just the coolest thing ever. Like it's just so cool how things connect without knowing it, and yeah, it's just it was a beautiful little moment when I found that out. I was like, it's just so cool because it looked like me, and I loved that. Could have been anyone. Could have been a blonde. Could have been brunette. But no, it was a redheaded cowgirl, and you can look that up. Back of Conway Twitty's guitar that he had. So Conway began, and basically the ride continues to this day. And I just started building my persona. I started building the stage name, who I am today. I mean, granted, guys, this is me as my authentic self, but it is nice to be able to have a stage name over it. Um, and people only know me as Conway. I love that. I love that that's such of a known thing, and I love meeting people and going out places and people know of me or they wanna take pictures and they're just excited to meet me, and it's so humbling in that sense of just it's such a beautiful moment because I'm so grateful to the people who notice and are just like, "Thank you." Like, it's so precious to me. I love having that moment, when it's just a wave or a hug or a handshake. I think that's so cool. Um, so eventually I started making so much money. I started making tons of money that I didn't even need my server job. So I quit my server job. I was like, I am losing money being not necessarily on my phone all the time, but there was people that were wanting to buy my content and I would be working a fucking 8-hour serving shift and I couldn't be on my phone and then people would change their minds and they wouldn't buy. So I was losing money by being at this job. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my serving job where I maybe make enough money for stuff. Um so I did. I also was getting offers from certain businesses to collab with them, whether it was just normal or it was in the Western fashion. Early on in the days of like when Western fashion was really starting to take over, uh, kind of just Instagram and social media and stuff like that. I'm not saying I'm an OG at all because I know plenty of girls that I look up to that have been doing it since like 2014, things like that. But I was still fairly early on into it and I was becoming this like full-blown character. I was traveling to concerts, I was promoting music and certain musicians and artists. And I was wearing outfits to these places. And at this time too, these were outfits that people were making fun of me for. Like they were just thought my style was crazy and out there and just that's not country at all. That's not Western at all. That's so fucking stupid. You look dumb. Like people were really hating on it. And then now it's like the most popular types of styles that everyone was wearing. So that's what was crazy too was like I felt like I got shat on so much for wearing certain things and people just thought I looked fucking ridiculous. And now it's like, people wouldn't even bat an eye at some of the outfits I was wearing nowadays. It's just so fucking dumb. So I quit my serving job and then I focused on school and my content. And that's kind of what I did for a little bit. And then I started thinking like I really like doing what I'm doing. Like I really like this character that's developing. I really like these opportunities I'm getting to do. I've always wanted to be a content creator, but I thought that was just never going to happen because I wasn't like a big streamer, I wasn't a comedian or I wasn't, a YouTuber or anything like that. Like I didn't realize that there was also this path that you could take to develop into it. So, um I was like, maybe this degree or what I'm doing at school right now isn't for me because at this time I was already making like 4 times the salary I would have made with this job. And surgical techs don't get paid very much, but I was making way more than they would have ever made. I was making more money than I ever have made in my entire life. It was insane. Um so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna put this on pause for now. I can always come back to it if I want and finish the degree. It's not a thing." So I was like, "I'm just gonna continue traveling all over, whether I was like, uh, going overseas to different countries or I was, exploring lots of Texas and all the places of Texas that I didn't know. And it was nice to make friends along the way that would show me different parts of Texas. And it was just really, really, really fun discovering a state that like I didn't know much about. I've only been to like Dallas and that was literally about it. But getting to be like everywhere in Texas was so much fun. That was like a really, really, really fun part about it was just exploring. So after I was, in Houston for a little while, I was, like, driving everywhere, and doing a bunch of things. I realized that, like, driving from South Texas to anywhere in the state was so fucking far, and it was just eating a lot of gas, and a lot of the stuff was more in, like, Central Texas that I was going to. Um, so as a business move, I decided it was in my best interest to move more central. So I moved to Fort Worth, which is, like, the yeehaw fucking headquarters for everything pretty much. And I figured doing this would give me a better opportunity to expand and grow my name, grow the character, just be known. And that's exactly what happened. I got way more opportunities to do certain things. I made more connections with people, got to go to better shows and be at different things, stuff like that. It was really, really, really great. I was also closer to the friends that I had at the time. I was able to travel to places quicker, and it was feeling like a better decision because I was saving money, but I also was able to do a lot more things. And it was very, 4th is very yeehaw. So it was just like perfect. I felt like I was like, wow, this is like a great thing. And also I had my connections down in Houston. So it was just this like wonderful, I'm growing and expanding. So I stayed in Fort Worth for some time. Uh, and then I grew Conway into basically what y'all see today. A voice for the people, I guess. Um, supporting businesses, supporting artists, supporting creatives, and doing it in my own way without having to, no cookie cutter bullshit. I'm not catering to brands or things like that. Like I'm everything I pretty much say is because I want to do it. How I say it is how I want to say it. I'm only having to I'm my own boss. I do not have to report to anybody else. I'm not fucking trying to sell you shit. My shit is not just an ads everywhere. I'm not supporting businesses just because they sent me shit. Like it's what I want it to be and truly authentically me in so many ways, and that's what it's turned into. Um and along the way of all this growing, like I've lost so many fucking accounts. I've lost so many Twitter accounts, I've lost so many TikTok accounts with like hundreds of thousands of people on it, and especially when you lose those things, it hurts your businesses. I've been banned on apps. I've had numerous amounts of people that fucking hate me. Um, and I've said some off the wall crazy shit, whether it's in person or online. And along that way, like my skin has grown so thick. I've learned to I've just learned so much along the way of being a content creator, especially being a sex worker, especially being in the Western and country community, especially uh also being bisexual with it. Like there is so many layers of this that people fucking hate, and they will tell you that they hate you and they will not include you in things. And as I've grown, it's gotten a little better, but it's still very very like people do not want to work with me because of I'm a liability risk just because I do sex work even though I don't post anything. Um you know any I don't post any nudes, I don't post any videos, everything stays fairly, some of it's safe for work, a little bit's maybe not safe for work, and that's because, it's like a bikini style picture, things like that, you know what I mean? Um, and people still just see me as a risk, like, I'm not no hate to the fellow coworkers who just post them sucking dick on the timeline or their, full pussy spread. No hate to you guys, you're doing you and you're making your business and stuff, but I don't post things like that, so I still think I fall very much into being brand friendly, but it's just because of me being a sex worker is why especially a lot of the country western community and people do not like me or do not want to work with me, because they just think that people like me shouldn't be in this industry. Same with like being in the queer community too. There's tons of musicians and artists and everybody else who feel so isolated because of it. Gay's not for country. There's no country music isn't queer, shit like that. Like it's so fucking dumb. So like there's lots of layers of why you guys don't see me at these big brands and booths because they just won't do it. But they'll support people who are extremely fake, and just are getting you to buy shit, and they don't really have any opinions on it, and are really stupid, and are really homophobic, and are really racist, and are really bad people. Those companies have no problem supporting them. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother fucking story in itself. Um, but anyways, I've grown so much along the years. I've learned so much, good and bad. I mean, I'm still fucking learning. I'm learning how selfish people can be. I'm learning how sneaky brands can be. I'm learning like I feel like it's changing and it has changed since I started. But it's still there everyone's still quite a bit behind on being inclusive with a lot of things. Um but I've been able to grow in so many ways. I've been able to explore and experiment with looks and fashions and environments and just being around different types of people. And it's just so fucking nice. It's so nice to learn their stories and to grow with them and to promote people that I truly fucking appreciate and to, you know, kind of not just be a sex worker. I am a content creator. Um, and I think that's so beautiful. I always make the joke that like people come for the boobs, but they stay for the music. And I think that's hilarious because it's like my playlists, especially my alternative listens playlist. If you guys don't have it, make sure you check it out. It's quite well known, and there's managers and artists that email me all the time or message me asking to be put on the playlist or hey, check me out. And it's so beautiful for me to discover smaller bands or they're asking, kind of like, "Hey, check us out." And I find a band that I really like that's like has like, 200 followers a month, or 200 listeners a month. Very small things, and it's so nice to be able to put them on a platform to where thousands of people are listening to them and their numbers go up and they get more popular, and it's such a beautiful thing to use my platform to raise up other voices. And no matter how big I get, guys, no matter how big, it will always be that. I don't want to be an ad page. I don't want to be promoting brands and shit like that I don't fucking love or like. I want to try to stay as inclusive as I possibly can and promote people that really deserve it because their voices are just so wonderful. Their creativeness is so wonderful. Who they are as people are so wonderful. And it's like I believe that they deserve a chance just like I am. Like I'm just here showing off my meat bags. You know what I mean? I'm just meat bags and bones. That's all I am. And but yeah, it's so nice to kind of develop more into not just being a sex worker or when people quote unquote use like demonize OnlyFans girls, quote unquote, you know what I mean? Where they say it like derogatory. It's nice to not be categorized, not because I'm like, ooh, don't categorize me as that, but it means that I've grown into Conway becoming this actual character, this actual brand persona, all in one. Like it's so nice that I'm not limited to just one fucking thing. And I'm still on that journey. I'm so excited to keep growing. It's insane. Like, um last year last year I got hang on, pause, Discord was disconnecting. But it's just so nice to grow from that and everything. I'm so excited to continue that growth. Like working with Playboy is absolutely fucking insane, and getting to be one of their very first centerfolds for their entire big website that they have now, getting asked by Playboy to be a part of it was absolutely fucking insane to me, rather than just joining and hoping that, you get picked, like being, how they just accept almost anyone now, which is wonderful and great, like congratulations. But to be able to be one of the first to do it, one of the first in the country and Western scene, indigenous and queer, like being the first altogether with that many titles on it was really big. And that was a dream of mine, is to work with Playboy. And I got that, it was crazy. It happened. And I looked at my notes that I made a notes of like things I wanted to accomplish, and I wrote it in like 2018, and working with Playboy was on one of the notes. So it's like I somehow manifested a dream into a reality. And it's not like crazy, like I'm not on the magazine or I'm not doing all these crazy shoots with Playboy. It's nothing like that, but just being able to be a part of them. And you can type in playboy.com/Conway's Clubhouse and it takes you right to my thing. Being a part of Playboy is fucking crazy. Some big company noticing me enough to do so, and to be one of the very firsts to be included is pretty wild and crazy. And I can't wait to see possibly what other things I can do with them in the future. But yeah, that's nuts. Like I have merch out now. I have my own merch. I've always wanted to have Conway's Clubhouse merch. Like I didn't want it to be Conway Titty. Like I wanted to be Conway's Clubhouse, and the Clubhouse is inclusive and for everybody. And I love the designers that I've been able to work with and them to create just these sick ass um merch designs have been so fucking cool. And to be able to see y'all wear merch out. Like my favorite design that I have out now is the Raisin Hell with the goths and cowboys, and it's the coolest shirt. And there's so many of y'all that tag me in your photos of you wearing them or buying them, and it's just so it's so I feel the love. I feel so supportive on that aspect of y'all wearing merch. Um like my merch that I've thought in my brain and I told somebody else, "Hey, please design this for me," and watching it come to fruition and be like, "Ta-da, here it is." Like it's so fucking cool. Like I think that's neat. I love being able to be a streamer now and play games that I've always loved playing video games, but to not feel like it's a waste of time to play video games. That's how it's always felt when I grew up was just a waste of time. So getting to like entertain y'all while playing games and streaming and watching movies together, that's just like a whole another thing in itself. And doing the podcast now, having you guys listen to Stony and I turn into a podcast. And like I said, being married to somebody who created a character as well, and he's becoming Stony Robbins and going through the trials and error of like creating his own persona. And it's nice to have us as a duo where it's Conway Titty and Stony Robbins. That's how I like to have it. Like I always wanted him to feel included in with whatever I'm doing. It's not just the Conway show, you know what I mean? And I think that's so cool. I love that we have a podcast together. I love that we stream together. I love that we go out to events together. And people know him as Stony. I think that's so fucking cool. Like it's just this beautiful thing that's turned on to, and it feels like not only do I wear like numerous hats, like literally, I'm a creator, I'm an editor, a manager, a marketer, a director, a producer, an executive, like whatever else you want to name it, like all for Conway Titty. And I think that's so beautiful that I have created this from literally nothing into something, and I can't wait for it to grow even further and to just see how far it can be, you know? And it's like, don't get me wrong, everything isn't sunshine and unicorn farts. Like there has been some extremely tough times and decisions that are like aren't shown that I don't show you guys. The behind the scenes is such a wild, wild place. Um it's just it's difficult. There's ups and downs, and it's not always, great. Um, like there's a lot of things I wanna accomplish. There's still these giant dreams I wanna achieve, and I can't wait to achieve them. Um, and like even in just this year alone, there has been so many sets that I've already done, so many scenes that I've already done, and we're just halfway through the year now. And we haven't even gotten to like the major holidays. Like if you guys know and you're here, you see me in the past, October is my anniversary on the October 1st. It's the anniversary of like me being in the business. So October 1st will be my 8 years of being in this business. And then all of October I do different costumes and Halloween sets, and then December I'll do like holiday themed sets, and it's just this whole thing that I do. And it's like I just got done with my color series that I decided to do in June. I did over 20 something sets and scenes for this month. I did 2 of every color. So like I tried to do like a western outfit, like a western fashion outfit for each color, and then I did a non-safe for work for each color. So, like I said, each color had 2, and I went from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, and brown, and then I did a black and white set. So, like, that was a lot. That's a lot that I did this month. And like I said, we're only halfway through the year, and I'm already planning, what I want to do for October and what kind of Halloween sets do I want to do, and I want to make sure I repost ones from last year that were really good and fun, and bring some new stuff in too. Like it is like I said, it's a 24/7 gig. You're always thinking about what's next, what to do, what to post, when to post. Like I said, when you wear all those hats, like you got to be I'm the one woman business. I'm doing this all by myself. So I have to figure it out and keep going and keep doing it, and uh everything like that. So I'm just trying and trying and trying and trying. There's days where I am absolutely mentally and physically drained and exhausted, and I'm burnt out. and it's a lot when you have to keep something that you ever created and you are your own boss afloat. It's so fucking exhausting, which is why a lot of people do not last this long in this industry. Um, do not come close to any of that. And if you're a creative, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like that doesn't limit to sex workers or content creators. It's through musicians and artists. Like any self-employed person understands that like when you are trying to achieve something and you're shooting for the stars and hoping to, um, hope to land somewhere among them, it's takes a lot. It takes a lot of trial and error, learning by yourself, hiccups, complete fall downs, and just having to like keep getting back up and trying or like stopping what you're doing and reanalyze and do something different. And it is such a crazy thing. And like I said, it'll be 8 years in October. Um, of this lifestyle, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. There's so much more I want to do and so much more I want to achieve. And sometimes it gets so tempting to just give up and go work a regular job and not have to do any of this, but it's not fun. It doesn't fulfill me. It's not I don't have the freedom to just all of that. Like I just don't have the freedom of it, and I just can't imagine just giving up on it because I feel so close all the time, and I'm seeing the progress of like where I was just fresh out of that relationship in my apartment, not affording bills, so fucking lonely, so miserable, to the growth that I have now and the people that I've gotten to meet, the people that I actually call my friends. I never expected, like, these are people that I used to listen to or look up to. And it's like, it's so crazy that I'm mutuals or, we're good friends on the aspect and I have their phone numbers and I can text them. And it's like this fucking crazy thing of like, I don't want to give up yet. I want to see how far this can take me. Um, and like I said, I always used to look up to Elvira and Dolly Parton, just having the big boobs and the personality to take them there. That's why I joke around, why I say, come for the boobs, stay for the music, stay for the personality, stay for the humor, stay for the comedy. And that's what happens is a lot of these people come in to subscribe, seeing my flesh bags, when in reality, like they stay around because they like the shit that I'm posting or they like the things that I, you know, like as well. And it's just this like nice thing that it eventually turns into support and love and fans. And it's so fucking wild and crazy. And like to think about you guys sitting here listening to me rambling is also fucking crazy and wild. And I appreciate you guys so fucking much. You have no idea. I just can't, like, I'm literally tearing up right now. I just can't wait to see how many more people we can add to this as, cowpokes. How many more cowpokes can we add to this and grow the community and be a voice for people that don't have it? And I've had people that have been there with me from the very beginning. I've had people that have been with me like 2 years in. I've had people that just came on. Hello, hello, welcome. Conway's Clubhouse is for the cowpokes. Whether you're an actual cowpoke or you know you live halfway across the world in a fucking city that doesn't have cowboys or anything. Cowboys, cowgirls, no cowpokes nowhere. You all get your own hat here. It's beautiful and wonderful, and I just can't. I just can't wrap my brain around that, and that's also why I don't give up. Like, there's times where I've learned to take breaks for myself so I don't burn myself out. And if you guys know, I started a new thing to where, like, right before Christmas starts, I take a break for an entire month. So usually it's, like, December 22nd to January 22nd. I take an entire month for myself. I do not post anything. I do not get on social medias. I dive more into my reading. I'm very offline. I unplug and I get offline, and then it keeps me from burning out because when I'm working so hard on, like, the cosplays and the costumes and, like, posting and keeping up with the millions of social medias that you gotta keep everything and the amount of times you have to post, when you have to post, when you're doing all that, you burn out and it's not fun anymore. So, especially when the holiday season rolls around, I'm doing so much that the end of the year is such a nice break. So I did that last year and it was so nice because when I came back from that break, I was so excited to post again. My creative brains and juices started going more, and I was like, "Okay, I know what I wanna do for this month, and for this month, and this month," and then it gives me time to not think about anything. In that month that I take off, like I said, for this year, it'll be December 22nd through January 22nd. I get to like I said, I get to be 100% offline. I'm not staring at my phone, worrying about trends or marketing or posting at these times, and, like, the worry of that is gone. I just get to be myself and take a break from it all, and then I get to come back recharged and ready to throw more ideas and things out into this fucking universe, you know what I mean? Um and that's what I try to do, and I really enjoy being able to have the balance of it, and I think that's really important too if you're in this industry, is giving yourself a break when you feel like it. I made the decision abruptly last year. Now I've made it to where I'm gonna start doing it every year, so it's actually planned. But last year I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was so fucking burnt out. I was so like getting so depressed, and I just had like I was like, I got to stop. I got to stop right now. And I just let everyone know, nope, this is my last day. I'm taking off an entire month. Bye. But now it's planned ahead, so people are like, "What happened? Blah blah blah. Where's the content?" You know what I mean? It's nice. It's nice to be able to like take that step back. But also it's planned, so now I'm prepared for it and I can post things earlier and get things done. Like last year was so like I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't handle it. And that's what happens. So like you got to make sure you have a healthy balance of it all. If you go for it, you got to go for it. There is not a lot of half-assing. You can give yourself some days off, but there is not really any days off because when you're on your days off, you can't really relax because you're thinking about either the future content, you have ideas come to you, you're writing things down, you're planning things out, and then you finally have like a couple hours of relaxation because you're not on your phone, and then you get back on it and you're like, oh, I need to post this. Money, 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 here, here, here. I need to if I post this at it's a fucking crazy mess. And it's not for everybody. It is mentally torturous, and I want everyone to know, but it's also one of the best things I've ever done for myself into creating and being so free with it. And I do, like I said, I just cannot wait to see how much more Conway's Clubhouse grows. I can't wait to see how much more all of this turns into and such a beautiful thing. And I can't wait to keep achieving my dreams and, getting things done, even though, um, I think my favorite thing I heard from a comedian, in one of Tom Segura's specials. If you're a fan of Tom Segura or if you're not, in one of his specials, he says he always wanted to be a comedian so badly, right? But the thing is, he says, if you want to achieve something, no matter what it is, you must be okay with the road that you're taking to not be exactly what you think it's going to be. And I've taken that to heart of like, it doesn't matter what the road's gonna be like because you're gonna get there eventually. It may not go exactly what you think or even close, or it may be some twists and turns and backwards and reversed, like all of that shit. But if you're okay with getting there, then you just gotta deal with how you like the road to getting there. It's something like that. I'm sure you guys can look it up. But yeah, when I heard that, it just kind of really stuck with me of like the road may not always be what you think, but knowing that you'll get there makes the drive on that road way easier. Um, just believing in it enough and trying your best and just going, going, going and pushing. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been trying to do. And it's been 8 years on this almost 8 years. Um, and it's been like 4 or 5 with Conway in particular. So it's just this like weird, beautiful thing. Like it's just I just can't wait to just keep going and to see where this is at. And just yeah, I just it's crazy. But yeah, I think that's all I have about Conway. That's all I have about myself. I tried to sum up a lot. I'm sure once I listen to this back and edit it, I'll be like, "Oh fuck, I missed some steps." But I tried to write it out so I wouldn't forget too much. But that's kind of the general little story of how Conway become Conway and how I am here today and you guys joining me on this journey, and I can't wait to give y'all more and y'all see more, and just it's fucking beautiful. It's so cool. Um but yeah. that's all I have to say about that rolling in my Forrest Gump line here. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's the end of the episode, and I appreciate you guys sticking around and listening. You guys can find Stony at Stony Robbins _ pretty much on any of the socials. You can find me at conwaytitty.com. That is conwaytitty.com. You can find all our stuff. You can come hang out on stream with us and listen to more podcasts, watch it on YouTube's if you feel like it. I eventually want to get back into video, but doing just voice is easy enough for us right now. But yeah, come hang out. Come join. The secret passcode for God. The secret passcode for this week, let's just leave a heart. It doesn't matter what color it is. Leave your favorite color heart down below in the comments. Show some love for this post, this podcast, whatever the fuck it is at. You know what I mean. But other than that, I appreciate you guys for turning off your thinking brains and opening your ear holes up for me so I can penetrate them. And you guys listen to me ramble and be a fucking Looney Tune on here all the time. Stony will be back in August, just so you guys know, just a reminder. I have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more episodes of just myself, 3 more Conway chats for now, and then Stony will join us back in August. All right. Okay, you guys take care, stay hydrated, get some sleep, get something to eat, and I will see you on the next episode. All right? All right. Bye-bye.